What's up everyone, and welcome to the guide we've all been waiting for, Columbina. Finally she is out, and let me tell you, she's everything we hope for and more. She is the broken Lunar support we've all been itching for, and at long last she's here to break the game, which I'll explain how to best do. So sit back, relax, hit the like button, and finally, let's talk about Columbina and her very strong kit. First, one of her most important talents, her elemental skill. Casting it summons a gravity ripple that passively attacks enemies. Aside from applying Hydro, key for all Lunar reactions, her passive attacks accumulate what's called gravity. Gravity builds up when a teammate triggers Lunar reaction damage, and at max capacity, gravity gives way for Columbina's many ways of buffing Lunar reactions. This is in the form of specific attacks that cater to all the reactions in the game. For Lunar Charge, Columbina's ripples fire off another set of Lunar Charge hits towards targets. Lunar Bloom sees more hits of its reaction, similar to Lunar Charge's effects. And last but certainly not least, the all-new Lunar Crystallized reaction, which feels a little early to talk about at this time, but all the same, the gravity ripples dishes out another hit of AoE Lunar Crystallized damage. And for those of you that like to flex your Lunar characters throwing multiple Lunar reactions in one team, you'll gain the gravity bonus of whichever Lunar reaction built the most gravity, essentially the one that was triggered the most. Now on paper, this may sound a bit underwhelming. It's only one or a few extra hits of Lunar reactions, but realize that Columbina does these things very regularly, about every 6 seconds. 6 seconds over an entire battle amounts to loads of extra damage, dramatically elevating all the Lunar characters we've got in mind. But very interestingly, all these improvements apply to every single character in the game. A big addition with Columbina, which I'm so glad is the case, is she gives the ability for all non-Lunar units to perform Lunar reactions. So Dendra units like I'll Hate Them and Nahida, they now can trigger Lunar Bloom, and the same is the case for Electric and Geo characters. It's like we're in Fontaine because this will send waves throughout Genshin, and a possible team that may emerge as really good is Lunar Bloom Columbina. Now Columbina is best used as a supporting sub DPS, yet being the moon goddess, she has the power to perform Lunar Blooms through a special charge attack. DPS Columbina does sound weird, however she does have a passive that raises her crit rate by 15%. Onto her elemental burst, but first let's just admire it for a second. It is beautiful. The devs really did it justice. I don't think I'll ever get bored of seeing it. The casting of the burst creates a lunar domain in the surrounding area. Akin to Nahida's, when teammates are within the domain, they receive a whole other set of extremely useful buffs. Up front, all lunar reaction damage is increased by a flat amount. On top of this, the reaction gains a whole other set of specific upgrades different from her skill, tied in by one of her passives. Now, the thunderclouds of Lunar Charge gain a 33% chance of firing additional lightning strikes. For Lunar Bloom, should you use up all your Verdant Dew, Moonridge Dew comes into play, acting in as another form of Verdant Dew that can be consumed for more Lunar Blooms. And similar to Lunar Charge, Lunar Crystallize can trigger another Crystallize hit with a 33% chance. Finally, you should keep in mind that Columbina has the Lunar buffing passive, but her skills on HP. With this in mind, when you level her up, first prioritize her elemental skill. This is where the vast majority of her personal damage comes from, and where a great chunk of her Lunar upgrades also come from. Of course, the same can be said for her elemental burst, so equally prioritize that. Next up, let's shift to a crucial part of Columbina, her weapons. While she can yield many catalysts, her very best weapon will depend and shift with your team composition. With so many applicable teams, this can get complicated. Thus, to make things simple, I'll summarize my tests and findings in a digestible manner. Beginning with her 5-star options, her signature is the clear top pick. It's packed with crit damage, HP, lunar damage boost, and energy recharge. Absolutely everything you could want for her. This makes it the best catalyst overall, delivering maximum damage across all the teams she fits in. Second place goes to Nefer's signature Reliquary of Truth. It too gives very nice crit damage, a touch of crit rate, and a notable boost to Lunar Bloom damage, making it exceptional in such teams. Similarly, there's Laumla's Night Weaver's Looking Glass. Outside of Lunar Bloom setups, it's decently good, but in Lunar Bloom, it too is very strong. Behind these notable options, all other 5-star catalysts have very close performance, this being the various crit damage, HP, and EM catalysts. However, what makes Columbina truly profound, Columbina's true best weapons actually aren't 5 stars, rather her 4-star weapons outperform many, if not are equal to, the 5 stars we just went over. The very best of the 4-star bunch is the Battle Pass Sacrificial Jade. It provides an extremely high crit rate and a hefty amount of health, boosting her damage very nicely. The sole downside of it is its crit rate. It's all too easy to overcap on it. As long as you take care of this, it is excellent. Second place is my personal favorite, and it's not just because I'm broke. This weapon is genuinely fantastic. See, Columbina's burst is incredibly important. It's key to everyone's damage, yet Columbina has prominent energy struggles, forcing her to need huge energy recharge on her build. However, Prototype Amber is the perfect solution to this. Its passive provides huge energy, significantly reducing her energy requirements, all the while holding massive HP to buff her attacks and key talents. If you continue to struggle with energy, the Favonius Codex becomes your backup. Not gonna lie, these suggestions are kinda crazy, but hey, more Varka stocks, who's complaining, right? The Codex sacrifices HP for higher energy, naturally lowering your strength. Nevertheless, it's still very viable. Now, there are other 4-star catalysts you could consider, but again, the Prototype Amber strikes the perfect balance between damage and energy recharge. The only reason not to use it is that it is hideous on Columbina, but just think of it as a gift from Sandrone. For you on-field Columbina enjoyers, her signature and any crit damage catalysts would be great choices, as would be the Prototype Amber. If you're just starting out and these catalysts don't apply to you, there's the honestly very fitting Thrilling Tales for support Columbina. I definitely go with Thrilling Tales, however, there is also the Emerald Orb or Magic Guide for EM. With her weapons covered, let's now shift to an even more complex and nuanced side of Columbina, her artifacts. But before we fall into this madness, I just ask that you take a quick second to like the video and possibly subscribe. This helps me a great deal, would make Columbina smile, albeit with their eyes closed. But back to the video. Columbina's artifacts can drive a man insane. There's so many teams this lady fits into, each with their complexities and specifications, altering her #1 artifact, not to mention your own personal preferences. Suffice it to say, my hairline's gone up a bit. Nevertheless, I'll showcase her best sets and break down when to use what. With her release came the new Aubade of Morningstar and Moon, enhancing elemental mastery and lunar damage by 60% as long as the user is off-field and Ascendant Gleam is active in the team. 60% is absurd, somehow even being packaged with EM, it's undoubtedly the highest damaging set for off-field lunar units. Naturally, you'd lean towards the new set for Columbina, but much to my dismay, the strongest artifact set for her, in most cases, is actually Silken Moon Serenade. This almost sounds like a joke. This set was released alongside her, so how is it not her best? However, the calculations make it all too clear. Yes, the Morningstar and Moon furthers Columbina's personal damage immensely, but she'll be alongside hard hitters like Anefa, Flins, and so on. Thus, the 120 EM that stem from Silken Moon, which is big for Columbina, but more importantly, everyone else's damage, given that they too are buffed, Silken creates a higher level of DPS than the Morningstar and Moon can yield. You're probably wondering, what if you utilize both sets in a team? Say Anefa running Silken Moon and Columbina on the new set to keep her as a deadly sub DPS. Unfortunately, this also doesn't exactly work, not perfectly at least. The rule of thumb is to give Silken to the support that deals the lowest damage. Since the new set is meant to elevate personal damage, higher damaging characters use it best. Therefore, if Columbina is alongside Anefa, Columbina will actually equip Silken Moon, since Anefa deals far greater damage than Columbina. This would likewise apply to Lauma, who'd either want 4 Deepwood in the team or would similarly perform better than Columbina with 2 pieces of EM. The only time she would be in the best situation to use the new set is when she's played next to Aino and likely the new Geo support coming, whose name I'm definitely gonna butcher, essentially teammates that are weaker than her. Hopefully your brain doesn't hurt, mine certainly does, maybe just rewatch this portion again, but in a nutshell, only go for these 2 sets, and to maximize your damage, Silken Moon. The only exception to this rule is if you'll be playing on-field Columbina, where the Night of the Skies Unveiling is her top set. Behind it though, sounding honestly very perfect for her, ranks for Wanderer's Troop. Beyond this, as you grind for these 2 sets, or you want to breathe life into your headcanon by playing Columbina in non-lunar teams, for example with the Traveler or Arlecchino, these artifacts best suit her. Up front, Golden Troop. It's perfect for her role as an off-field attacker, maxing her skill damage even when she's not on field, amazing for sub-DPS Columbina. If you want to fashion her towards more of a support, Tenacity of the Millilith fits better than any other set, helping her on the front of HP and giving her a nice place within attack scaling teams thanks to Tenacity's team-wide attack buff. Furthermore, there's 4 Instructor for reaction-based teams, aptly bringing us to early game sets. Next to Instructor, there's 2 Scholar if you lack energy, 4 Gambler, 4 Berserker for greater crit, or force Oceaner to deal stronger charge attacks. As for main stats, the best possible combination is double HP with crit, the circlet ideally being crit damage. You might be questioning where's EM in all of this, and surprisingly, this is done on purpose. In fact, I don't recommend it at all. Columbina is odd in that unlike practically all Lunar characters, EM is kinda weak on her. It does nothing for her off-field attacks and it doesn't scale greatly with her Lunar reactions, so EM should only be used as a last resort and switched whenever you get HP. With these artifacts, aim for the substats of both crits, HP, energy recharge, and EM. Alright, with the specifics of her build covered, let's now go over to the other means where Columbina is strengthened, her Constellations. And I gotta say, her Constellations are really quite strong. I don't plan on getting them, but if you do, or if some of you happen to get lucky, they're actually really nice to get, and let me know how they feel. C1 kicks things off as a nice appetizer. Just like her skill and burst, yet again, you unlock additional buffs to all the reactions. Seemingly tailor-made for Flynn's and Columbina, and Lunar Charge setups, your active character gains extra energy. This should be a big help to both of their ER needs. In Lunar Bloom, interruption resistance is increased. Concerning Lunar Crystallize, you'll be able to generate a shield, which, sure, extra damage would have been nice, but still, to make up for this, C1 also grants an outright damage gain to these reactions. C1 is a slight gain in damage, it's nothing crazy. What is crazy is her C2. Right away, the rate of gravity gained is significantly upgraded, in addition to honestly broken effects. Columbina receives a big 40% increase to her HP. This will do wonders for her damage and the other buffs she gives, which somehow C2 is not done yet. Tied with her HP, Lunar Charge comms have their attack furthered by Columbina's health. The same is the case for Bloom, but it happens to their EM, and Crystallize their defense, as well as another inherent Lunar buff like her C1. This Constellation, if you can't tell, is ridiculously strong. Her teams, regardless of wherever or however you play her, see a big jump in damage. C4 calms things down, all the while being still very useful. As usual, it's an energy helping Constellation, though it increases the effectiveness of the gravity interference attacks by her HP, and once more, there's another bonus of direct Lunar damage buffing. Lastly, C6, and if you're going for this, definitely let me know, because though simple, it is very strong. Almost too bluntly, Lunar reactions within Columbina's burst get an extra 80% crit damage, and wouldn't you know it, another Lunar damage buff. Finally, with all the things we've learned, let's go over some notable Columbina teams. While the ones I'll mention are great, the truth is, she fits into countless teams. I'm so excited to try all the comps she fits in, so by all means, let me know what teams you'll be running her in, be it meta teams or even fun teams. Alright, the first composition is one I simply cannot ignore, Flynn's. With Columbina's release, this guy Flynn's has won the lottery. Already he was winning, being incredibly powerful with virtually no weaknesses, especially when with a Nefa, who's a powerhouse dishing out ridiculous damage in the forms of personal and or Lunar damage with buffing on the side. This duo was already unstoppable, now throw in Columbina. Legitimately, you've broken the game. You've conquered Tevat, time to head to Celestia. Seriously, this team sounds almost too good. Columbina brings so much to the table when the table's already broken. Loads of extra Lunar Charge damage, high personal damage, and loads of improvements to the reaction like all of her extra hits. This trio does everything, making the fourth character almost irrelevant. Ideally, a healer would be used, but there's also Sucrose for they can't kill you if you kill them first philosophy. Putting our bloodlust aside, let's jump into the other team that can't be glossed over. Nefers. Columbina's effect here is twofold. Just as with every team, she bestows major damage gains, but unlike the last one where Columbina really pushes Nefer, comes in the form of Moonridge 2. Nefer consumes Verdant 2 extremely fast. With no Verdant 2, Nefer's DPS tanks, and you simply wait for more of them. Now with Columbina, whenever Verdant 2 is empty, you can fall back on the new Moonridge 2, giving her 3 extra charge attacks resulting in greater Lunar Bloom triggers and of course, far higher damage, making the entire team play and perform better than ever. Well everyone, this is my guide. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please consider liking and subscribing, and be sure to ask me any questions you have on Columbina. Thanks for watching.